Hello, this is Lee back once again for another video, and been a while. I'm afraid it's gonna be a little while longer. See, I'm gonna be going away for a little while, little hiatus, little break, little vacation, as you call it on your earth. But before I go, I wanted to do a bit of an extra special little review. Not a video game, not wrestling, unfortunately, but a movie review, yes. And before we proceed, I just want to warn you there will be spoilers. But that's why you came, isn't it? To see the spoilers. I don't really care, but whatever. So, spoilerific review, fair warning. So, Solo! I went and saw it. Now I don't have a ticket stub. I will admit I did see it for free, streamed on the internet. I admit it, I'm not ashamed. But so I'm going to tell you my thoughts on Solo. So, I started watching. I had my little snacks, my refreshments. Sit back, relax, see the story unfold. So it begins, its training facility. We see our title character, Solo, and the military is like grooming him. They programmed him to be a fighting machine, to fight. And you see these flashbacks. Later on in the movie, you find out, he during training, they really wanted to push him to the limits. And another character pulls a gun on him, and he kills the man. They don't outright say it, but it's heavily implied that he takes a life. And that's the first life that he takes. And, they send him out on a mission, so he's with these elite troopers, in the jungles. We see this jungle. And, he meets a kind of a furry friend, later on. But anyway, they send him on the mission after these rebels. And, so Solo is out there, and he's planting these explosives to take out the rebel base. But then he sees some civilians, unarmed women and children, and so he realizes, he didn't sign up for this. He's not going to kill, unarmed civilians. So he, pulls the bombs. He's placed them in this kind of this earth wall. So he starts pulling them out, and the other troopers are like noticing he's doing this, and they're like, just detonate the bombs. So they basically screw him over, and so he survives this explosion. He's wounded, and we meet his trainer, who has in charge of his programming as a killer. And there's just a little bit of a kind of a friendship between them. But Solo, he's definitely a man who has been brainwashed, indoctrinated, programmed to kill, to follow orders. But you can tell that there's some disconnect. There's some cognitive dissonance. He admires, life. He doesn't want to be in charge of destroying it. At a certain point, he just kind of breaks rank. He disobeys orders. He steals, a flying vehicle and takes off. And his superior officers, are very distressed. There's one who has it in for Solo, wants to take him out, wants to kill him, get rid of him. It's kind of the bad guy of this story so far. And so Solo's taken off, and he's I'm trying to think if the call sign was like blue. I think it was blue 1. And so it's blue 5 and red 5. No, blue 6 and red 6 are after him. And, Solo, he's going and off this desert, jungle terrain. I keep saying desert, but it's a jungle. And it looks like he's going to ram into this mountain. But he pulls a maneuver, and it looks like he's going to make it. But then he just crashes, and his vehicle explodes. It's completely destroyed. And then the pursuing officers, they pull up and just barely, escape. So you think, oh, Solo's dead. But it's like, nope, he survived. And he crawls to this temple in the jungle, and these people, they find him. I think it's a small boy initially. So there's a little bit of a kind of a friendship, and The story so far just making me think about The Force Awakens, how Finn, the character in that story, was a stormtrooper, trained by the Empire from birth to be a killing machine and just follow orders. Then later he says, well, I'm a janitor, and whatever, his first mission, but he refused. But then, as soon as he meets up with the good guys, the Resistance, he's like completely fine, completely normal. I thought this is how they should have done it. This is how this character, unfolds as, trying to become a normal person after all this training, all this exploitation by the military. So he meets these villagers. These were the civilians, and you see the rebels pushing them around. You see the rebels threatening them. So not such good guys, really, these rebels. And so kind of everybody's bad except for these defenseless people. And then, of course, Solo himself. And he, at first, he's kind of an anti-hero. He's really just, he just wants to do what's right, according to his own mind, but he's not fighting for any higher good, any higher order. Even his friend, just kind of like keeps him alive, heals his wound, and whatever, gives him more power, but it's just, he makes a deal with the villagers. It's like, you give me your electricity, and I'll teach you how to fight to stop the rebels, because they're basically fighting off the rebels, and then the military shows up, and again it's this officer, and he basically makes it clear that he'll just do whatever it takes to take out Solo. He disobeys orders himself, and this officer, he kills. First, you think he's going to work with the rebels to find Solo, but he double crosses them as well. But then the shocker. The military sends in, you see the commanding officer, he sends in this another warrior who is just basically, his face, looks like a clone of the bad guy officer who's trying to take Solo out. And, before this, there was this hand-to-hand fight, fairly well done, fight, but it's very short. Solo makes short work of this commando, he breaks his back, wrestling style, where they lift the guy up over your head and then you slam him down on your knee. Of course, in wrestling, it's a fake move. You don't really, the person supports himself, but, it looked devastating, like, he just broke his back and paralyzed him. But he's still alive, and he's kind of laughing, he's sadistic, and he's chuckling and whatever. Then he sees the clone of himself, and the clone just kind of grabs him and, like, snaps his neck, just kills him right then and there. Goes after Solo, and the clone, he's got this big weapon on his arm, this big gun, and he's shooting and firing, doing all this stuff, and the two of them are fighting. Kind of reminds me a bit of Terminator 2, when the T-1000 and of course Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator are fighting, they're slamming each other against walls, just brute force. The gun, of course, has run out of ammo, and at a certain point, Solo pretends to be down. Then he gets up and surprises him with bluffing, gets him. So and there's humor. It's like he's learned all these more human traits over time. His interaction with the villagers, with his mentor. Solo is becoming an independent person, learning to think for himself, learning a sense of morality. He fights for the right, not just for self-preservation. He has new directives, preserve life, because he has no problem taking out the soldiers that are after him. They're threatening his life, threatening the lives of the villagers. So, at a certain point, the clone, Solo is taken out the support beams in the temple. And, the clone does his best, Matt Hardy impression. He's like, well, we're both going to be deleted. And then the thing collapses and you think, oh, he's gone. He's gone. And there was kind of a Predator moment, because you see the little kid, the little boy, that initially, kind of met up with him at the start. Oh, yes, he also saved the little boy's life from a snake. Solo, his reflexes really fast. He grabs a snake before it bites the kid, saves his life. That's kind of how they start the friendship. Well, at the end, there was a scene, kind of a touching scene where, the guys are just kind of hanging around the village, kind of smoking cigars and playing cards, and Solo it comes by, and they're laughing, and he's just he doesn't laugh. But then when he's by himself, he kind of like practices laughing, and he kind of learns how to laugh. So then later this comes in because you see him. Well, you don't see him. That's the thing. You assume that he died. The last time you see him is in the temple when it collapses. But and in the soldiers, back at the base, the commanding officer, they just kind of say, well, that all that program's down the crapper, down the toilet, whatever, it's gone. They just kind of write it off, just assume it was a waste. Top secret, training, it's gone. These elite soldiers are ended, and the whole thing's wrapped up nicely. But then you hear the laughter, and it's like the Predator, laughing. But it's laughter, it's genuine laughter, echoing out in the valley. The little boy hears it, we hear it. You know that Solo's still out there. Solo survived. And so by now you must know that I'm not talking about Solo, a Star Wars story. Obviously, I'm talking about the 1996 action movie starring Mario Van Peebles, or Mario Van Peebles, who later went on to be in the absolutely terrible Highlander 3, The Final Dimension, The Source, or whatever. But here, definitely a bit of a Terminator ripoff, but really, I had no intention of seeing Star Wars Solo, a Star Wars story. I'm a bit fed up with Disney Star Wars now, and I'll just let things go. I used to get really buy into the hype of these new movies, these big summer blockbusters and so forth, but really I just don't care anymore. I've been burned too many times. I think from now on I'm going to go by recommendations. People I trust, not just corporate critics that say everything is good, or everything from a certain company or certain franchise is good, or whatever is new is good, or something's good because it has some political message. I'm going to listen to fans, people I trust, not fanboys. Recommendations are key. So if you think there's some movie I should see, or some game I should play, or some match I should watch, give me your recommendation and tell me why. Don't just assume because it's new or a big budget that it's automatically good and deserves my time and attention. So skipping Solo, this isn't a big thing. This isn't like AVGN when he said he wouldn't see Ghostbusters. I didn't see it either. But, I might see it someday if people say it's good after the dust settles, but I'm not that excited about it, honestly. And really, Han Solo's story doesn't need to be retold. It's already been told in the original trilogy. Star Wars, 1977. He starts out as a rogue. He's a guy that's in it for himself. He and Chewbacca are in it for the money. They're bounty hunters. They're space cowboys, whatever. He works for a scummy, crime syndicate. Really, who is Han Solo? People make a big deal about Lando. Well, Lando Calrissian, his adventures have already been chronicled in the expanded universe. And is this high-quality literature? No, it's not. But, if you read the original Star Wars from the Adventures of Luke Skywalker, 1976, it's not that great either. And really, when you think about it, Star Wars, this is going to be heresy, but it's like, Star Wars isn't that great either. I mean, it is for the history of cinema, it is for storytelling, it is for characters, but it's not a revelation. It's just a movie. It's an exciting, movie. It's worth watching again, feel like a kid again, but, it's not the end-all be-all of life. So, a book like this, it's not going to ruin anything. The Lando Calrissian Adventures, it's pretty entertaining. And as far as I'm concerned, this is what the character is. From Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. And Han Solo, his adventures have already been chronicled. I mean, there's new books coming out, but why bother? You've already got this. This will cost you like $5, and you can have, all that to read and enjoy. Or just watch the movies. He starts out as a rogue, a selfish man, a mercenary. And, there's flashes of humanity. He kind of cares a little bit. He doesn't want to show it a tough exterior. But, eventually he's won over by the rebel cause. He takes an interest in Princess Leia as a person, not just as, a conquest. He takes interest in Luke as a a worthy comrade in arms, a brother, not just some little kid that's in his way, not just a mark to get paid. That's Han Solo right there. That's the guy, not this new character. You have a new actor playing him, but it's a new story. It's not necessary. It's just a cynical money grab, really. And who's Lando? This is Lando. He's a hero. He's also a gambler. Han Solo's thing was he's a pilot. He's a rogue. He's a gunslinger. But Lando, he's a gambler. He's a smooth talker. He's a negotiator. He's a guy who can talk his way out of anything. But he falls victim to the Empire. The Empire offers him a deal, and it's kind of like, if you do things our way, if you compromise with us, with evil, you'll be okay. But some other people that you don't know are going to get hurt. You don't care about them, you care about yourself. And that's kind of the way that Han Solo is also. He works for Jabba the Hutt. He doesn't care who he hurts. The Empire, the bad guys, steal from the bad guys, whatever. But he doesn't care about the rebellion. He doesn't care about, people who are suffering. Apparently he does have a heart, though. He rescues Chewbacca from slavery. That's the backstory. You don't see that in the book. You don't see the Sabak game, where he loses the Millennium Falcon, or he wins the Millennium Falcon from Lando Calrissian. It was Lando's ship before it was Han's. But, you do see a little bit of humanity. There's times, he sees injustice, he saves Chewbacca, not just, so now I can get this strong guy to, be my co-pilot, and he's got a life debt to me, so he'll just do anything for me, protect me. But Han Solo, it's like he's damaged somehow. He's got a good person waiting to come out, and he just needs the right people in his life to kind of guide him, get him to care about others, not just about himself. So Han Solo starts out as an anti-hero, and he becomes a hero. He comes and saves Luke Skywalker, and he saves the day. Notice he saves Luke, but he supports Luke in his training in the Force, when before he scoffed at it. He's like a space atheist or something. He's like, whatever. Which, of course, doesn't make any sense with the prequels, because, the Clone Wars happened, in Chewbacca's lifetime, and Chewbacca, knew Yoda, at least for a few days, and hero of the Jedi Order, and he lets, Han Solo, badmouth the Jedi right in front of him. He might have known Obi-Wan, for all we know, but he never lets on. Well, that's because the prequels hadn't been written yet. So I fully expect this Solo a Star Wars story. It'll make a bunch of money. It'll get glowing reviews from critics, but I care more about the audience. I care more about the fans. Are these fans that like everything Star Wars? They just like the newest things? I would rather judge a story on its quality, its entertainment value, whether the characters are true to what's been established. Star Wars has been established as a series, not as a reboot, not as a remake. This is supposed to be the same Han Solo just a couple of years before A New Hope, before Star Wars 1977. So where is it going to go? Is it going to be a cynical bad guy who becomes good, or is he going to be good and then he becomes cynical again and just become good again? It's silly. So anyway, Solo. There's a couple of other movies called Solo. There's one about this woman, and it's kind of a thriller, I guess. And then there's another one I think about two men, and they're kind of in a romantic couple type of situation. I don't know. But I watched the Mary Van Peebles movie, and it was all right. I have a sense that it's going to be better. Conceptions going in, and it is kind of funny how he meets this furry friend, a spider that crawls on his arm when he's in the village, for that first mission. It's a trace of humanity. And I really wish they would have done more like that with Finn's character, a stormtrooper, he should really be more like a machine, not a man. But his humanity is allowed to come out from people in his life, but he changes just a little too quickly. His character is just kind of brushed off. That was a criticism people made. They also made, they said, well, Rey, she's, just a garbage picker in the desert, and she suddenly, is right away to being a hero. I don't know, it seems a little tough. Maybe Anakin in the prequels was like that, but he had a mother that, raised him, I guess, to believe in more things. And, he was the chosen one in the Force or whatever. Luke, at least, he had a family. He had friends. He had dreams. He was a pilot. He actually flew, and he was pretty good. And he knew Obi-Wan, apparently, in his youth. He just was forbidden to see him at some point. And his uncle, Uncle Owen kept him away. So there's some explanation, you could fill in the gaps pretty easily, reasonably so. Whereas the new movies, they kind of create these continuity problems. And to be fair, Lucas, himself kind of created some continuity problems with the prequels. The Star Wars canon is a mess. It's been a mess for a long time. And maybe the expanded universe stuff, doesn't really make sense. I didn't care about Star Wars Rebels. I got tired of Clone Wars after about a season. It's like, well, this is just a kid show that's meant to just go on forever. So why should I care? Plus, it didn't really have continuity with the movies. It changed and kind of did its own thing. So the problem with Star Wars is everything has to fit somewhere, but it just really doesn't very well. It's not like some franchises like Highlander where, the continuity just doesn't work. But my attitude towards Star Wars these days is, it's not a religion, it's just a franchise. It produces a lot of things, a lot of books, a lot of games, a lot of movies, but you just pick and choose what you like. And don't worry if it doesn't fit in with everything else. Just you decide what you want. Don't just assume because it has the Star Wars logo, because it has the stamp of approval, that it's canon, and you need to, somehow, embrace it, even if it sucks. So, I don't know. Sounds like Solo is gonna suck, but it's gonna make a lot of money. Probably not as much as Rogue One, but whatever. I haven't actually purchased any of the new ones. Oh yes, and maybe you thought I pirated the movie. I didn't. I just got one of those, free trials where you can stream movies, for free for a certain amount of time before you have to pay your monthly subscription. So that's what it was. I'm not encouraging piracy on this channel. Enjoy things how you can, but if you can pay the authors, do so. Show them your appreciation, enthusiasm. Don't get into trouble. Not good. So, in this digital age. So, anyway, I'll certainly miss you all. But hope to come back before too long, talk about some wrestling, talk about some video games. Won't talk about Solo, a Star Wars story, because I didn't see it. Don't really plan to see it, don't have plans to see it. Oh well. Let other YouTubers review it. I'm sure there'll be hundreds of reviews. So just watch the regular reviews, watch the ones where they say it's bad. See what they say and why they think it was good or bad. But Solo, it was okay. It was pretty average, but at least I wasn't disappointed. It just kind of was what it was. Something to watch. You see a machine develop into a man. What is it to be human? You wonder. So that's it for now. More videos coming soon, or maybe later. Certainly by June, I'll definitely be back, and I'll be able to do more at that time. So until then, take care. Goodbye.